Welcome back to Lempin's Cocktails. Tonight we're going to do the third installment of our Home Bar Basics bar tools. Now in the first one we did the 5 essential bottles for your bar. The next one we did the cocktail glasses, and now we're going to talk about the tools you need to make those delicious drinks at home. So with that said, let's get started with our first one, the shakers. So the most common cocktail shaker you're going to find at your store or online in a starter bartending kit is going to be the cobbler shaker. Really basic and old cocktail shaker, and it comes in 3 parts. You have your main tin to build your drink in. You have the cap, which is a built-in filter strainer, and then you have the cap. Now, this is great and really popular here in Japan. In fact, it's probably the only cocktail shaker I see used here. They get a good small shake out of it. It's great. It chills down the drink super fast. However, on a downside of this, you really get stuck. And what I mean by that is when this thing gets cold after drink after drink after drink of making, it's really hard to get this cap off and this container open, which makes it really hard to keep making drinks and really slows down your ability to do so. And so that's the main problem with this one, although it is the most common and I do like to use it a lot. The next shaker is the traditional Boston shaker. With this, you have your grand tin and a glass. This is just a basic tempered glass, pint glass. And what's good about this is that as you're building your drink, you can see everything building up in it. And then when you put it in and go to shake it, you can kind of watch and see how it's shaking and see how the drink's mixing up. On the downside of the traditional Boston shaker, you're dealing with glass. Now, while this is tempered and more resistant to breaking, it still can definitely break if it falls on the ground or if you shake it too hard or hit it too hard into your tin. So you don't really want that, and so that's a pretty big detractor of this. However, there's a better alternative with the same premise, and that is the kind of improved cheater Boston shaker with 2 metal tins. So you have your same large grand tin, but this time you have a small metal shaker tin for the top. And what's good about this is you still have some weight at the bottom of it typically. It closes it up, you can seal it, and honestly you get a much better seal because it's metal on metal. And I think in general it's kind of better. You get a good shake with it, and say you're making a sour with an egg white, you can crack your egg in one and build your cocktail in the other. In case you happen to get some yolk or eggshell, you can easily kind of separate that without wasting all your cocktail ingredients. Our final and least popular shaker is the Parisian shaker. Now I myself just started using this a few weeks ago, but so far I am loving it. It is really great to use, it looks really nice, it's sleek, and it's really easy to open once you've been making a lot of drinks and when it gets cold, because you don't have to knock it, you don't have to try to pry it loose. Really a quick twist and open, and you got it open. Now the downsides of this is you don't have as much leverage like the Boston shaker to knock it loose, but you don't really need it, I found. And the other thing that I don't like about it is that it's kind of harder to build part of your cocktail in the small shaker. You really just can kind of sit your ice in there to close it up when you're done. But overall, I think this is a great shaker. But I'm gonna see how it goes over the next few months and years of using it and see if this holds up as probably my new favorite. So the next thing I wanna talk about, still in building your drink and where to put it when you're doing so, is the mixing glass. So you can use a mixing glass, which is a nice pour spout like this one, or just a basic pint glass. That works just as well, and there's no reason you can't use it. And if you're looking to build your tools on a budget, definitely recommend using the pint glass to start out with. But with a mixing glass, what you really get is the pour spout, and you get a big heavy base so it doesn't move around as you're mixing your drinks. Now one thing that I prefer about a mixing glass is it to be seamless glass, which means you don't have that nice seam where it was 2 parts of things meshed together. Because when you have that, sometimes they're offset a little bit and your spoon can kind of snag on it as you're stirring drinks. Also, it's kind of ugly in my opinion, so I like to avoid it. The other thing that I really like to focus on is a thinner glass wall. The thicker ones are obviously more robust. When it's thinner, it allows you to track how cool and diluted your drink is, so you can kind of get a better gauge on it, better than those heavy, thick-walled ones. So now that we've talked about what you're gonna build your drink in, your mixing glass or your shaker, let's talk about how you're gonna measure it out and build repeatable cocktails. And that is with your jigger. First off, we're going to talk about the Japanese style jigger. It's a slimmer, taller type jigger, and it's got 1 ounce and 2 ounce capacity, but inside there's some internal gradient markings, so you can have a 1/4 ounce, 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce, and also 1.5 ounces and 2 ounces. Now what's great about this style jigger is it allows for a more dramatic pour. Sometimes you want to rock it forward. And the other good thing is it's got a small surface area up top, so you have less to spill if you get kind of jostled when you're making your drinks. It's a great style jigger. It comes in a lot of beginner cocktail kits, and really I still use it now. The next style, which is basically the same general principle but a little different in style, is the bell jigger. It's just more rounded, but it has the same 1 ounce, 2 ounce capacity and internal gradient marking so you can see. Now the problem with this is that it gets a little bit wider, so it is a little bit more tendency to spill, I find. And the other thing that I don't like about it is that the lines inside are laser marked, which makes them harder to see if you're not, in a very well lit area. And the lines don't go all the way around, so you have to find the exact right spot in order to know, hey, I got the right amount of ingredient in there. But it is a lot more stable when you sit it on the bar, which is great. The next style is just the cup style jigger. It has a 2.5 ounce capacity on the main side and a 3/8 ounce or 1/4 ounce, depending on how much you fill it up, on the bottom. This is great because you can build so much of your cocktail all at once. And it's really great if you're busy. You don't have to really look for any lines. They're all clearly marked. And the other great thing I love about this is that it's marked in milliliters, tablespoons, and ounces. So you can really get a variety of recipe books with the one jigger and not have to think about too much complicated math. Also, it's really stable, really easy to use. It's just not as pretty for the cocktail making art side of it. And kind of a mix between the Japanese style and that cup jigger is this one here. It's basically a great mix. You have your 1 ounce, 2 ounces, but it's got the very defined lines on it, so you can easily tell how much is in it without having to, again, look for that little specific line or anything. It's really quick to use. And the final style jigger we have is the OXO jigger. Now this one is one I've been using a lot more lately because it's really useful. It's got really clearly defined lines on the inside. It's got this nice rubber outside so you really don't lose grip on it. It's got 1 ounces and 1.5 ounces for its size, which I really do wish it had 2 ounces, but hey, it can't be perfect. But what the OXO jigger does have that none of these other ones have, or other ones that I've seen anywhere have, is a 1/3 of an ounce measure. Now it doesn't seem like it'd be that important, but so many classic drinks and new cocktails being made have 1/3 of an ounce of measure, and that's really hard to measure out, by eyeballing it for repeatability. And this one has it. So I've been using it a lot more and more, and I think in the videos you see, I've been using it. But it's really great. And so, if you're gonna pick one to buy besides your classic one, you might give a strong look at the OXO. So now we talked about what you're building your drink in, how you're gonna measure it. Now you've made it, what do? You strain it. So we have 3 types of strainers. We have your julep strainer, the hawthorn strainer, and a fine mesh strainer. First off, your julep strainer. So you're gonna use this primarily with your mixing glass, and what you're gonna do is really just put it in there, and you're really just hoping to get a lot of that big ice chunks out, because you don't have all the glass shards like you would from a shaken cocktail, and so you don't really need to worry about finely straining all of that out, but you want to get most of your ice out so that you don't dilute it any further once it's poured. And it's just a simple strainer. It's probably the most classic one, honestly. Your next strainer is going to be the hawthorn strainer. You're going to see this nice coiled spring on there and some holes for straining it. What's great about the hawthorn strainer is that you can do a lot of different things with it. You can leave it open and let the spring just catch a lot of it, but not all of it, and then a little bit more texture of the drink will pour through. Then you can also close the gate for a really strained pour. But if you're making something with an egg white, you really want to use your fine mesh strainer. And the great thing about that is when you're pouring from your hawthorn, you can strain into the fine mesh strainer, and it catches a lot of those proteins and citrus pulp to really make sure that your drink tastes great. So another essential cocktail tool is going to be your spoons. So you can have your basic cocktail spoon, which just has, a shorter twisted stem, a little beaded top here, and the spoon. You can have a little bit longer one with a heavier top. Now this one has a sugar skull on top. It's from Barfly Mixology Gear. And what I like to use this one for is breaking large cubes of ice. You can just tap it and those things will shatter, and it helps the dilution of your stirred drinks. Another style will have this nice muddler tip. So this one's a little bit longer as well, so you can get a really good stir on there, and it looks better because it's bright and shiny and gold. Anyway, there's a lot of different styles of spoons you can have. Find one that feels good and definitely practice your stirring. Just, fill up your mixing glass with some ice and just water and just practice to make sure you're staying around the edges and really just making a great, smooth, not too loud and clanky drink. Obviously, I don't always keep it to the quiet side of stirring, but No one's perfect, and I practice too. Next up are the juicers. Now you definitely need a juicer because you don't want to use that store-bought shelf-stable lemon and lime juice that you can find in a little squirt bottle. Definitely recommend fresh squeezed juice. And when I was first getting started, I saw this Barfly Mixology kind of half a fruit squeezer thing, and it works okay at best. The problem is that this cup is not very big, and so the juice just squirts everywhere. If you've seen some earlier videos, you can definitely see juice just flying out, kind of like half of the juice and was going out onto me and on the counter versus in the drink. So it was kind of wasteful and annoying, but it does work. So, you know, if you want something small and compact, this one definitely works. I would definitely try to look for maybe one with a bigger cup style. Those do tend to work a lot better. But now what I find myself using all the time is this kind of larger one where the entire half of the citrus will go in there and you can press it down. You get a lot more of the juice out. Obviously, you still definitely lose a little bit of juice to the squirt if you don't cut the citrus right, which I'm guilty of too a lot, but this does capture much more of the juice and really help it to be easier to pour with this convenient spout. Another thing, like I like to make some fresh orange juice in the morning, and even half an orange can fit in here, which is also nice because it didn't work with this little one. So now we're gonna get into the caution, danger part of our cocktail tools, which is our pointy things. We're gonna start out with this nice knife here, just a small utility knife, about a 4 or 5 inch blade. It's great for cutting citrus, trimming garnish, really just getting some good work done without being too big and, you know, wielding it around your work area where you don't want to, you know, hit anybody else if you're working in close proximity to others. But a good knife is definitely essential. Next, you're going to have a peeler. I use this nice horizontal style peeler so I can get good long peels. I found the vertical style that you find a lot of like potato peeling for kitchen. It didn't really work out well for me. I could never get a consistent peel, but with this one, I definitely do. Now lately I've been using a ceramic bladed one. It's been holding sharper longer. It doesn't rust. It seems cleaner. It's definitely staying sharper longer. So definitely recommend this nice ceramic blade type peeler. Next up, we have our cocktail garnish picks. You're definitely going to have cocktail picks for garnish, whether they be wood or a simple wood toothpick style, to really help, you know, up the visual game and the aromatics game of your cocktails. You know, you can put your cherries or your citrus peels on there, fold it up in nice, cool ways. They definitely add that visual appeal to your drinks and kind of up the game a little bit. The last one is our ice saw. Now, if you start making clear ice at home, you're definitely going to want a saw to score the ice, chop the ice, cut the ice. It really comes in handy, but it is definitely dangerous, so definitely be careful if you use a saw. You know, indoors or outdoors, whatever. It's still a saw, it's very sharp, and you can easily cut yourself. I do it way too frequently, honestly. The ice saw. For our last category, it's like the miscellaneous tools. First up is our muddler. Now I put it in the miscellaneous category only because it didn't fit with the other ones that I had made, but it is very important, so don't, you know, throw it out. You really want to use this to break up your sugar cube, muddle some mint for like a mojito or a mint julep. It's key. You can have it in wood or metal, it really doesn't matter. I choose wood because one, this was like $1, which was pretty great. And you know, it looks great. It has a good, nice visual appeal to it. And a lot of cocktail making is visual appeal. The wood is good. What I would caution is make sure you wash it really after each use because those juices will soak up in there and you don't want to have some weird like funky smell with it. So just make sure it's not varnished, or if it does, you kind of get that off. Clean it, and the muddler is good. It's key. Next up is a grater. If you know, cook at all, you probably have one in your kitchen already for grating up some like nutmeg or cinnamon for a garnish on top of a drink. It's not key, but it really is useful, so I put it on the list. Next up are some nice ice tongs. You know, you don't want to be touching all the ice that are going into people's drinks if you're serving to other people. You know, you really want to just kind of avoid putting your hands on everything as much as possible if you want. So some nice ice tongs do come in handy. For when you want to get fancy, a nice flan torch will come in handy. If you're doing like a smoked old fashioned, or you're searing a blackberry covered in sugar perhaps, pretty useful. A lot of kits will sell you this like smoked old fashioned kit, but I bought this off of Amazon for like $10. Went to my local thrift store and bought a cake lid for $1. It works just as well, way cheaper. And some other random things you might want. This, I just have a normal little squirt bottle with a spring inside. So if you're doing something like a Brandy Alexander where you need a thicker richer cream, you can put some cream in there, put some sugar or simple syrup to really thicken it up, shake it. The spring inside will help to thicken it up a little quicker. Then you can use this nozzle cap to really layer it on top of your drink in a nice way. Not essential, but a good to have. Next, and this kind of is essential, especially if you like making Sazeracs, a nice little atomizer or spray bottle. I like to put my absinthe in here so I don't have to twirl it around my glass slowly and then pour it out and waste a lot of the absinthe. Here, you can just coat the glass with a good thin coating. It'll have all the flavor you want with a lot less waste. And finally, we just have a little dropper bottle. What I like about this is that, one, they're really cheap. You get really defined drops out of it. So if you're doing type of like a bitters art on top of your foam in like a whiskey sour, it's easy to get repeatable, same size dots or circles, which is great. Or if you're making any type of drink where you just want to have a little bit, this really does work a lot better than a bitters bottle or even a Japanese dasher because it is so controlled. And that was easy, right? Just a little bit of tools here can make a ton of drinks. So I started this out with one cocktail shaker and a jigger and one strainer, and it kind of ballooned on me here and it grew, which my wife loves, all the stuff. But so you don't need all of these tools. Obviously I have 4 different shakers, 2 different mixing glass, a ton of spoons and jiggers. You really just need, one of each kind if you want to do that. But I just wanted to show you all the different types and styles out there along with my preferences as we went along. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. If you think I left any key cocktail making tool out, please let me know in the comments. With that, have a great night and let's make some cocktails.